That's right.
You've got to really, really brainwash somebody to get a child to hit their mother over the head with a hammer.
Yep.
Wow.
And again, I know we're talking about sexual grooming, but the same process is used. If you want to create a terrorist, it's the same process. It's the grooming. Once you get control over somebody's thought process, you've got control over the body.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a harrowing case. It came in the papers. It's probably going back about 4 or 5 years. 15-year-old girl runs away from home, from Coventry, found after 3 weeks, but she's converted to Islam.
Okay.
By somebody sitting in Egypt on the internet. And then even before we start any dialogue, her auntie phoned us up. Even before we started any dialogue with her, we thought we'd give it a week's rest, they get comfortable back home and everything like that. The the Met terrorist police surrounded her house, picked her up, took her to London, and she was plotting a terrorist attack on the streets of London. It's a 15-year-old girl. And the grooming process got to her, and she was plotting a terrorist attack. That's how dangerous this grooming process is. And that's why it's imperative that every parent knows about the whole process. And that's why we hold, at the Sikh Awareness Society, we hold 10-week courses just for parents. So we spend an hour every week, over 10 weeks. Just so that the parents can get the whole kit and caboodle, the whole picture of the whole grooming process and what to do. Because sometimes if we find out something's wrong, we can make the situation even worse if we don't know how to handle it. So from A to Z, we'll give them all the tools they need. When we first started, obviously, it was street grooming, outside schools and stuff like that. There was a video we put up. I remember a young lady, and this was a white girl actually, come out of school. Her groomer, she was with him for 3-4 weeks. The boyfriend, girlfriend model. She didn't really want to listen to him anymore. One day, she had a bang on her head. Next thing she knew, she found herself in Scotland in a whorehouse.
Pimped out. Why do you think it's taken a community of Sikhs to deal with a Pakistani problem? You see, because if it was my community, if it was going on in my community, I'd make damn sure it was me and my community dealing with it and crushing these rodents that are raping our children. Why has it taken a Sikh community rather than a Pakistani community?
We just couldn't sort of turn a blind eye to it because it was very damaging. You can't go to sleep when you hear this kind of thing. You can't, the pictures, the images of what that child's told you, what's happened to them, is replaying in your head. And then what do you think's happening to the parents, the mother, the father? It's not affecting the child, it's affecting the whole unit. It's messing with them big time. And so we thought, let's get out there. Let's just raise awareness. Let's educate the community to look at the red flags, to see if we can prevent it from happening. So prevention is better than the cure. It's better dealing with that than the aftermath of the damage that it does to a child, and not just to the child.
What is the charity predominantly known for?
We set up for sexual abuse because these are subjects that within the community, it was like a taboo subject and you couldn't talk about it. So there's a lot of other subjects like mental health and domestic violence and stuff like that, which we cover as well. But primarily it was set up for the whole grooming process because nobody understood what actual grooming is. And awareness, it was a society set up to raise awareness of heinous crimes committed against young people.
Okay, so there were Sikh victims, very much like we've got young white British victims. Because you don't hear much about Sikh children being victims of grooming? The mainstream media.
And from working with the Sikh community, we started working with the Hindu community and other communities as the name and fame went out there. So we work with, we've still got the original name, but we work with all communities. And if there is a child being abused and that child approaches us or the family approaches us, then we will sort of drop everything, and a child is a child. You get all that.
Have you ever come under attack by any of these gangs?
Verbally, all the time.
Physically?
No, not physically. Verbally, 100%.
Threats?
Yeah, you get all that. That's what I mean verbally.
Are they threats to be taken serious?
Yeah, I mean you got to be on your guard all the time. You got to be in the nature of the work that you're in. You can't just ignore something like that, and you have to be very careful when you get a phone call or you're going to meet somebody in the middle of the night, or there's a girl crying on the other side of the phone. Is that a trap? Is that somebody trying to set you up and get you out there, or get the team out there? You know what I mean?
Are you a target?
We were fighting the community to raise the subject. Where people thought, nah, it's not happening. It's not happening. We're not hearing about it. You're not hearing about it because of the whole honor aspect of things.
Okay, so that's why it is.
Yeah, and that also in the Hindu community as well. And we worked with the Buddhists. We work with the Christian community. We will work with anyone. If there is a child being abused, and that child approaches us or the family approaches us, then we will sort of drop everything, and a child is a child. There's a very famous case actually. It took place in Burton near Derby, and it was of I think about three white girls, and these girls were groomed. These girls were being exploited. The father of one of the girls found out, and he tried to educate his daughter in many ways, but she just wouldn't listen. Because when you're groomed, your thought is controlled by the other side, the groomers. And then he one day came across one of our YouTube videos, told the girls to watch it. They watched it, and then they went to the police. And that video was played in Derby Crown Court. I remember it was a Tuesday night, and I got approached by a father afterwards. And he says, I don't know what's happening with my daughter, but she's sort of gone downhill. CAMS is involved. Everybody's involved. The authorities that need to be involved, they're all involved, but we're not getting through to her. I'll come down your place on Saturday. So I went down their house on Saturday, Leicester. I sat with the girl for 15, 20 minutes. And she started opening up to me, whether she looked at me as one from the community, part of the community, whether she liked the energy or whatever it was. She opened up, and wow, sort of shocked me. She was 15, looked like a 12-year-old. Damaged girl, because she, I think when she was 6 or 7, her best friend had died. She never got any therapy for it. So she was self-harming herself and everything like that. I read her diaries afterward. And she started talking to me about one guy and two guys and how they would pile her with vodka, take her out from college at 12 o'clock lunchtime, school, sorry, and then before 4 o'clock. So she goes home at the right time, so the parents don't find out. So she would be abused at little different hotels, parks, back of cars for 4 months. And then we There was a private investigator hired to follow the girl. So wherever they took her to hotels and homes and houses and everything, and data was compiled. And then we had a high-level meeting with the Leicester police and also the local council who dealt with the sexual grooming side. A report was given to them. So
In the mainstream media?
In the mainstream media, you don't. And from working with the Sikh community, we started working with the Hindu community and other communities as the name and fame went out there. So we work with, we've still got the original name, but we work with all communities. And we had a spate of cases at that time, which we thought we need to sort of highlight them and take them out to the community so that they can protect their children, protect their families, because these were heinous crimes committed against young children. And within the Indian culture, honor is a big aspect. And because of the honor, we call it izzat, because of the honor, we didn't have people go into the police or go into the authority because then everybody will find out. And we had to work with, like, when we first started, we had to work with sort of one hand tied behind our backs, really, more or less. What really baffles me is that you've allowed these children to be damaged. And when I say damaged, and then you've got to put the resources into fixing him. And you're allowing that to happen, and you've turned a blind eye to it. And anybody who spoke about it is considered right-wing. Now, right-wing 70 years ago would be if you supported Mussolini or Hitler, you'd be considered right-wing. But you're considered right-wing now when you're trying to protect your daughters. And that's where I sometimes say, if you want to call me right, then that's okay, because at the end of the day, I will protect. I will go out for my daughters and the children. That's
these textbook terms, they're set to silence far right, racist, you're radical, you're a bigot, you're a fascist. And I think all of those words have now lost their flavour because it's more important to preserve the innocence of children. And for me personally, call me what you like. I will not stand by and stay silent, because silence is compliance, in my opinion. Grooming gangs.
Yeah, because if you just, it suits the media narrative and governmental narrative. Now, my argument regarding that has always been because I'm a football fan, yeah? And when England went out abroad to play football in the early 70s and 80s and 90s, we had that problem of hooliganism, yeah? Where they just have too much to drink and they revolt if they've lost a match or something like that. But they were never referred to as European hooligans. They were referred to as English hooligans. So if you can differentiate from there, Asia's a massive continent. You know, Chinese, Koreans, Japanese, Indians. You know, why not? With your findings, because you've arrested these people, you know, you've got the data. Why ain't they named and shamed? And also, if you know the perpetrators, then you can put the resources, governmental resources, in there to sort out the problem, because you've isolated the problem. I mean, we had this problem with West Midlands Police when they would say, well, bring us the data, bring us the cases. But what we didn't know was they were sitting on data for 40 years. When the Birmingham Mail, you know, I don't know what you call that act where they keep certain things secret and they release them after 30 years or 35 years when they see fit. The Birmingham Mail demanded it regarding the grooming. And the way they marketed certain things was like the name, so the religion and the ethnicity was out, and on the fourth column was the crime. And now you've got all that data. You tell me if you saw a Chinese name on it. You tell me if you saw a Korean name on it. You tell me if you saw what's in it. They were all the same names. So why are they asking us to produce data or information when they were really sitting on this information? And unfortunately, it was throughout the country.
This is the very reason I'm so glad that you're here today, because we're going to share some telltale signs. And if this interview saves one person, I'll be over the moon, because this subject, I mean, there's a long line of abuse, sexual, violent abuse within my dad's side of the family. So I've seen the damage it causes firsthand. So unnecessary, it can be prevented. Before we go on to the workshops that you do, because that's going to be a real nice thing to unpack. Although I say nice, I mean educational and refreshing for people to think, hey, I needed this, without realising it. Let's talk about the main perpetrators of these grooming gangs. So you've been doing this for many, many years. So you've seen probably countless grooming gang cases. What community are predominantly raping our children?
We got it from the Pakistani community. And that's to say, because when we set up a helpline, I'm not saying other communities are doing it or not doing it. All the calls that we got, 98% from parents, was reporting that to us, and then we would investigate the case and help the family and help the child. So I can only go on by the calls that we got. And that was predominantly the Pakistani community.
What do you think was such the big issue? Because it's only until now, and we're talking, I mean, you know better than me, this has been going on for decades, and they were referred to, and it used to really push my buttons, and I'd imagine more so for you, the way they were described as Asian. What community are predominantly raping our children? One
of the most harrowing cases that we dealt with was a case in Slough of a 12-year-old girl. They gave her an idea: make your mum or dad really angry. They'll take you into foster care. We can see you all the time, and your parents can't do anything about it. Cut a long story short, one day she went into the garage, picked up a hammer, and hit her mother over the head.
How many cases of child rape have you actually been exposed to?
Hundreds. And this was a white girl, actually. Come out of school, her groomer, she didn't really want to listen to him anymore. One day, bang on her head. Next thing she knew, she found herself in Scotland in a whorehouse. And she was plotting a terrorist attack on the streets of London. It's a 15-year-old girl. That's how dangerous this grooming process is.
Have you ever had thoughts or considerations of killing one of these rapists?
Basically, we started back in 97 because we were getting cases and people were approaching us. Me being well-versed in English and the Punjabi language, it was easy for me to talk to the elders in the community and also the young people born in this country. So there was no problem with the language barrier talking to them. And we started doing sort of little workshops in our local areas, wherever we could get a hall or a library or stuff like that. And as the sort of it grew, we went into the gurdwaras. These are places of worship, Sikh places of worship. So it extended to, say, the West Midlands, and then slowly, the whole of the UK we were working in within a year. Within a year we were working. And then many years later, we were followed by the BBC for approximately a year, because we helped this one 15-year-old girl whose uncle was a cameraman for the Panorama team. Now, the Panorama team was the flagship program for the BBC. And because he was involved in the actual case itself, when the girl went missing for 3 days, and we put all our resources in there to find her, bring her home, guide her, guide the family. And the guy said, this is too much to comprehend. How can a small bunch of people are doing all this? So he went to his team, said there's something sort of amazing going on. We set up meetings. We had about 3 months of meetings, and then bam, the recording started. And I remember when it went out, actually, September the 2nd, 2014. It was on the same time. On the other side, it was Corrie, and it beat Corrie for viewership.
Coronation Street.
Yeah, it beat it hands down. And then their BBC iPlayer crashed the next day. And because they put it on BBC World Service, it went out to the States, Canada. And then from there on, we were known throughout sort of North America, Australia, everywhere. And then from a small charity that started in, say, in the suburbs of Birmingham, we were able to, go around the world and be known around the world, the charity. We thought, let's get out there. Let's just raise awareness. Let's educate the community to look at the red flags, to see if we can prevent it from happening. So prevention is better than the cure. It's better dealing with that than the aftermath of the damage that it does to a child. And not just to the child, it does damage to your families. I remember in 2014, as the BBC were recording the documentary, we had 18 girls born in this country who we had to send outside the country for their safety. There's one particular case. It sort of took place in London. And when we found out, she was actually being made to sell herself in King's Cross. And she was being sold there. And it was such a sick mindset that the younger the person, the more money they could make. And then I remember she'd done that for 3 to 4 months. And she got in touch with us through a friend who knew of the organization. And we took her from London. We brought her into the West Midlands and housed her there. And after about 8 to 3 months of harmony, counseling her, trauma counseling, she got confidence. She put something out on her Facebook.
Good on her.
Or her Insta. The 9 people that were controlling her in London came to her school.
To try and intimidate.
Outside the school. We got the calls. We had to move very quickly. And then we thought, there's no way in the UK this girl is safe. So we had to send her to America. I took her out myself. And when the BBC were recording, we had a couple of girls in Texas. One was in California. A lot we had sent to Canada. And not long ago, about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, we had to send a young lady to Melbourne. And the whole system is that sort of corrupt, because this happened in Hounslow up in London. The young girl, we break her away from the group because now she's drug addicted. The police put her back into the same people's hands. They're not grooming gangs, these are gangs.
What community are predominantly raping our children?
One of the most harrowing cases that we dealt with was a case in Slough of a 12-year-old girl. They gave her an idea. Make your mum or dad really angry. They'll take you into foster care. We can see you all the time and your parents can't do anything about it. Cut a long story short, one day she went into the garage, picked up a hammer and hit her mother over the head.
How many cases of child rape have you actually been exposed to?
Hundreds. And this was a white girl, actually. Come out of school, her groomer, she didn't really want to listen to him anymore. One day, bang on her head. Next thing she knew, she found herself in Scotland in a whorehouse. And she was plotting a terrorist attack on the streets of London. It's a 15-year-old girl. That's how dangerous this grooming process is.
Have you ever had thoughts or considerations of killing one of these rapists? I want to say a quick thank you to our sponsors, Gold Seal. I use their products every single day, and now I finally get to work with them. I use their products for anti-inflammatory, reduced anxiety, better sleep, and mental clarity. I'm going to put a link to their website in the description, along with a 10% discount code for you to take advantage of. Go and have a look at their website, see if there's anything in there for you. I hope you enjoy this week's episode, and good health. Mohan, thank you.
No preps.
I fully appreciate you coming on. The great work that you do for the Sikh Awareness Society, which we really are going to unpack, and we're going to be discussing grooming gangs, the process, prey, the targets, and most importantly, how we can prevent the further abuse, sacrifice of our children. This may be hard-hitting for a few people, but it's a message that needs to be heard. And it's just at the time, I think, that Labour have squashed, and people maybe have been forgetting that we are asking for a national public inquiry into the grooming gang. So I think this is perfect timing. So let's talk first and foremost about the Sikh Awareness Society. Can you just, because you're the founder, so can you summarise and tell me all I need to know about that society, please?
They bent her over, took her hairpin out, moulded it into an M, heated it up, and then branded the girl that you belong to us. Now, we do that to animals. That came out in court in the Old Bailey.
And what did the M stand for?
Muhammad Qurra. I'm the boss. I'm the owner.
How has this been allowed to go on for so long? In your opinion, who's to blame for this?
I think everyone who's in authority, whether local councils. I mean, we've all gone through the J report, and that would probably be a fair reflection of what's happening in every city, even though that's only about Rotherham. I would say that failings within the council, failings within the police force, failings, politicians. The politicians all about votes, the vote bank, not to disrupt their own bank. So you're an MP, you're all right. It doesn't matter what's happening, and it's just, I would say, from everyone who was in authority to do something, whether these were the crisis centres or the council, or they're all to blame. But you'll get the same pattern in every city. In every city, there's a failure where people were reporting these crimes, and it was just said, "Well, you got yourself into it. We don't have to waste our resources getting you out of it." And these were children. And just imagine that there's a 13, 11-year-old, a 12-year-old white girl sitting with an Asian man. And what is a 13-year-old girl doing there? Now, we had it particularly difficult because if you see an Asian girl with Asian men, you might think it's their daughter or their niece or their family friend. But come off it. If you're seeing a white girl sitting in a car and there's 4 other people there and you just ticked them off and the girls complained about them and you're still not doing anything about it, I think there should be a massive inquiry into this. And inquiry shouldn't have any boundaries, okay? So when we go into this inquiry, it's not just about sort of this radius and this radius. It should be open. And whatever the findings should be brought to the British public. And they say, we want to see more of you, but your parents are not allowing you to go out the house. You're only 12 years old. And they gave it an idea: upset your parents, make your mum or dad really angry. So when they slap you or they chastise you in a way, all you need to do is pick up the phone to Childline and get the authorities involved. They'll take you into foster care and we can see you all the time and your parents can't do anything about it. This girl tried for 3 weeks, 4 weeks. The mother was a calm lady. Cut a long story short, one day she went into the garage went into her dad's toolbox, picked up a hammer, and hit her mother over the head.
Wow.
Yeah. And we were dealing with that. I know the girl now is somewhere in Wales, looked after. Yeah. The isolation is all about isolation will be from your family. Isolation will be from your very friends network, because they're the people can see change in your behavior. So they want to get you away from all these people.
They also want to turn these children against the parents.
That's the isolation process.
That is really sinister. We need a national, and this is the thing that really frustrates me, is that these left-leaning lunatics, when people are calling for a national public inquiry, you get the people on the left saying, there's already been an inquiry.
That was just for Rotherham.
Exactly. We need a national.
You need a national, because if it's just happened in Rotherham, then that suffices. Okay? You've got it in Newcastle. You've got it in Carlisle. You've got it down Bristol. You've got it in Greater Manchester. You've got it in London. You've got it in the West Midlands. You know, we're all part of that, part of mainland Britain. So it needs a national inquiry, Scotland, everybody involved. Then we can put it to bed and say, yeah, this is what's come out and this is what needs to be done. And I got wind of him in August that he's doing something very, very dodgy. And they said, no, we're not doing it without you, because this guy's a big fish within the community and nobody's going to take us seriously. And it was November time that we thought, okay, we need to really now go for this guy. And I think there was about 30 of us. We had to surround the place so he doesn't get out. He was doing a talk at that time inside the Gurdwara. We says, we need a word with you. Came, we showed him, all the videos that we had, we turned them into still pictures, like, book this, is that you? Is that you? Is that you? Is that you? And he was denying it for a bit, and it says, at the end, within half an hour, and I won't like to say what happened afterwards, but yeah, and then the next day the news throughout, not just the UK, but it was all over Indian media as well. When I say all over, it was all over, because he was a big fish. So if somebody is doing something not so good, these kind of heinous crimes, what really sort of hurt me was one of the victims was mixed race. So she was white and she had a Sikh dad and a white mother. So her mum's background is obviously Christian and the father's background. So she's trying to just find herself, and she ends up in this place up in Smethwick in Birmingham. And again, her vulnerability is exploited. And that one really sort of moved me, the level of abuse they did to her.
You're happy to call out your own community. Are you welcomed into churches and mosques to speak?
Well, I've been involved in, I'm invited into churches, but I've never done it. I've only actually went ever into a mosque. And we had a good debate with the person who was the head priest, say, the Maulvi, they call him. And we had a dialogue with him over a good, probably couple of hours with him and his wife there, and they were very sort of understanding.
So you're happy to call out your own community?
Oh, 100%. Look,
how would you deal with a Sikh rapist?
Easy, in the same way I deal with another rapist. A rapist is a rapist.
With that said, have you ever had thoughts or considerations of killing one of these rapists?
I mean, the negative thoughts that go into your mind are immense. You're only human when you get these thoughts. But then you know the bigger picture. and you have to sort of step back. And that's why when you're dealing with these things, your emotions, if you emotionally get involved in this, you compromise the situation. You're not going to be any good for the family or the children or the community. You're not going to be good for yourself either. So you do have thoughts, where you want to hurt someone, but then you have to step back and think, no,
I was going to
it
say,
affects you.
has it affected your mental health?
Yeah, because you have to do your own, there's days when you just go and sit in the local woods and just meditate. Just do whatever sort of works for you. Working works for me. Going to the gym, you get your aggression out. That works for you. So whatever works for the individual, do it. Don't let it fester inside you, because it will do you damage.
What's the full grooming process, and what are the telltale signs that parents need to be looking out for?
Every case that we've dealt with, whether it's a Sikh case, whether it's a Hindu case, whether it's a white girl's case, Caucasian case, it doesn't matter. There's a sort of a 6-step process there. First of all, the target. You target somebody, then you make contact with that person. That's the second stage. Third stage is gaining their trust. Fourth stage is isolation. Fifth stage is sexualization. And the sixth stage is total control. I always say, when you go past the third one, you've lost your child.
Right.
And then when we come back to target, they target a vulnerability. There might be a child of low self-esteem. You might be a child of a dysfunctional family unit. You might be a child in care. There might be a child who's just lost her grandfather or granddad, and she might be grieving. They will seek a vulnerability. And that vulnerability then is going to be exploited. You target the person. Whatever's lacking in their life, you're sort of giving it. So if somebody's lacking love, that will be given in abundance. That's the lover boy model. Right? If somebody's lacking in sort of material goods, they would be given. If somebody lacks appreciation at home, or they will be appreciated. It's like they want to bypass your head and go straight to the heart, because the heart doesn't do any thinking. I always say, when you go past the third one, you've lost your child.
So what's the full grooming process, and what are the telltale signs that parents need to be looking out for?
Every case that we've dealt with, whether it's a Sikh case, whether it's a Hindu case, whether it's a white girl's case, Caucasian case, it doesn't matter. There's a sort of a 6-step process there. First of all, the target. You target somebody, then you make contact with that person. That's the second stage. Third stage is gaining their trust. Fourth stage is isolation. Fifth stage is sexualization. And the sixth stage is total control. I always say, when you go past the third one, you've lost your child. What really got to me was we had to take this girl out of Leicester for her safety, took her to East London, and the day we were going to bring her back for the interview, the police informed us that the girl said she would only go to the police station if I'm there, because she needed that sort of confidence. So I had been supporting her up to then. And they picked her up at the motorway cafe, I think at Watford Gap or something, took her to Leicester, and we followed the car. They wouldn't allow us anywhere near the girl. And we're the ones that have brought the case and given them all the information, because Leicester police didn't know there was a case. So we've given the case, and from day one, the girl is trusting us. She wants us there. They separate us. They say, you can't be a part of it. Stay away. It's our case now. And the girl then goes quiet again.
Lost her support network.
Lost the support network. Most cases, if you look at it, they haven't got to the police. They've gone to charities.
People they think genuinely care.
I think there's a failure in the system where now people are thinking that the police is a failure. So the trust in that is not there.
That really needs to be brought back somehow. What part does Islam play in all of this?
I couldn't answer that one, but I know that individually there are sick people out there. And I don't want to go into the faith too much, but sick people and where they get these ideas from is they are treating them as subhuman, as animals. I think you might be aware of the case in Oxford, which ended up in the Old Bailey, the Oxford grooming gang. I don't know if you're aware of it, but it was more of a Somalian gang. The leader was called Mohammed Kurar. I think the girl was 11 years old, and this was said in court that she was stripped naked. She was going to be put. They were going to put paraffin over her. And the matches were lit. The girl was so terrified. You got 7 or 8 people in the room. She's stripped naked with paraffin over her. They were going to lie to her unless she did certain things. The first time I came across this back in 93, it was a professor from Aston University. And the government authorized this report into this kind of behavior. I think it took 2 years to produce a report. It was given to the government. The government then said, take it back and take all the names out.
Because it would give the nationality away.
It would give the nationality away. And then I think that person said no. And that taxpayers' money was wasted. That report never saw the light. And that particular person, that professor, went over to New Zealand to start his career. Whether he was getting problems here, I don't know.
It must be extremely, it's frustrating and upsetting for me as a spectator. It must be absolutely devastating for a parent. It must anger you to think that this could have been, if not prevented, certainly reduced greatly if the truth was reported at the time when it happened.
87% of the perpetrators get away with it because it's not reported. If this report's coming out in 93, and I remember reading it, and it's talking about taxis, it's talking about kebab houses, it's talking about all the same stuff that we know. And this is happening in 93. And if you look at all the historical cases that have come to light, whether it's the Rotherham or the Rochdale or the Newcastles or the Keeleys, up Bradford, Oxford, these are all happened in 2000 and late 90s. So just imagine that they had that information and acted on that information. They could have prevented literally thousands and thousands. And even if you look at sexual assault or rape, only 13% ever report rape. So 87% of the perpetrators get away with it because it's not reported. And then only 6% or 5% ever get convicted. So you just imagine what the real damage is. We're not talking about 1,400 children from Rotherham. We're not talking about 1,000 children from Telford. We're not talking about 300 from Newcastle or 300 from We're actually talking in their thousands. And there's some estimates that are saying that up to 1 million young girls, UK children, have been sexually abused by gangs. They're not grooming gangs. These are rape gangs.
That's another phrase that seems to have been introduced into the mainstream, and that used to frustrate me. Grooming is part of the process, but essentially the act that takes place is rape. Why on earth aren't we using those words? Maybe it would have got people's attention a lot sooner. Grooming it's far too mild a term.
We thought, there's no way in the UK this girl is safe. There's one particular case. It sort of took place in London. And when we found out, she was actually being made to sell herself in King's Cross. And she was being sold there. And it was such a sick mindset that the younger the person, the more money they could make. And then I remember she'd done that for 3 to 4 months. And she got in touch with us through a friend who knew of the organization. And we took her from London. We brought her into the West Midlands and housed her there. And after about 8 to 3 months of harmony, counseling her, trauma counseling, she got confidence. She put something out on her Facebook.
Good on her.
Or her Insta. The 9 people that were controlling her in London came to her school.
To try and intimidate.
Outside the school. We got the calls. We had to move very quickly. And then we thought, there's no way in the UK this girl is safe. So we had to send her to America. I took her out myself. That's how dangerous this grooming process is. And again, I know we're talking about sexual grooming, but the same process is used. If you want to create a terrorist, it's the same process. It's the grooming. Once you get control over somebody's thought process, you've got control over the body. 15-year-old girl runs away from home, from Coventry, found after 3 weeks, but she's converted to Islam.
Okay.
By somebody sitting in Egypt on the internet. The terrorist police, the Met terrorist police, surrounded her house, picked her up, took her to London, and she was plotting a terrorist attack on the streets of London. It's a 15-year-old girl, and the grooming process got to her, and she was plotting a terrorist attack. That's how dangerous this grooming process is. And that's why it's imperative that every parent knows about the whole process. And that's why we hold, at the Sikh Awareness Society, we hold 10-week courses just for parents.